In sales, prospects will buy from you if they know you, if they like you, and if they trust you. And in today's video, I'm going to show you what you can do so prospects can trust you faster, very quickly, such that you can get them to be able to do business with you almost immediately. My name is Iyore. We train thousands of salespeople across several countries, including Nigeria, Ghana, USA, UAE, Rwanda. I'm an author of several books and resources on sales, and I'm featured on lots of media platforms to talk about successful selling. I worked at an organization where I was going to target to sell to 20 high net worth individuals. I was able to bring in 21 high net worth individuals to the organization in a single month. I also participated in a sales competition where I won, and I was sent for the World Cup for an all-expense paid trip. I moved to another organization where I was able to double my portfolio by over 100% in just 11 months. I'm CEO for Ultravantage, and we specialize in sales force management. This means I work with sales teams, CEOs, to help them optimize their sales results and get sales results faster and in record time. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's go right in. Selling is not just talking. Selling is asking questions. The more you talk in sales, the less sales you would make. Because it's expected that when you sell, you ask questions. Marketing, on the other hand, is about announcing, it's about talking, it's about creating awareness. Now, one of the ways to establish your credibility quickly when you sell. Now, let me take you back to the definition of selling. Selling is proving that what I can give to you is greater in value than what I'm getting from you or the money I'm telling you to pay. So this means that my goal when I sell is not to make you see that what I have is equal in value. I have to make you see that what I have is greater in value. And it's either I amplify my status, myself, I amplify my products. Now, whenever you amplify yourself or your status, your product automatically is amplified. Because when somebody rejects you, when somebody rejects what you have to offer, you feel rejected. Even if you're not rejected, it was the products that they rejected. The person doesn't know you enough to reject you. The person just said, I'm not interested, or I don't like this company. The person just rejected the products, not you. But you see, it's difficult to detach yourself from the product the moment you're selling it. The moment you hold the product in your hand, or you represent a product or brand, automatically, it's like you become one with that product. So the moment you now start to talk about the product and people are saying they're not interested, you kind of feel, oh, rejected. But it was not you that they rejected, it was the product. Now, this also means that if that can work for a rejection, it can also work when you're trying to persuade. If you amplify your status or amplify yourself, your products will be amplified in the mind of the prospects. Now, the other way to look at it, I say selling is proving that what I'm giving to you is greater in value. Is greater in value than what I'm getting from you. So is it that I amplify myself or I make the prospect realize that, see, Mr. Prospect, you are underpaying. You are underpaying. And that's why the word prove means to make a case using logic and arguments. What is logic? Logic is like evidence. What is argument? Argument is like emotions, the passion, the enthusiasm with which you communicate. So when we're talking about using logic and argument, some people say things like, can I sell a product that I don't like? Can I sell a product I don't use? Some people ask those kind of questions. And I'm like, yes, you can. The only issue is that if you're selling a product you don't like or selling a product you don't use, you're only going to be using logic to sell it. You're only going to be using evidence. You're not going to be using emotions, passion, conviction to sell it. This means that if in your market there were about 500 people, you probably will close 200 of them. Whereas if you had large evidence, if you had emotions, you had the arguments attached to it, in a market of 500, you could be selling, you could be closing 400 people, if not 450. So the point is that you can sell a product even if you don't like it, or sell a product even if you don't use it. The only issue is that you will not sell to as many people as you would have sold to. If you liked the product, you believed in it, you were probably using it. And just in case you're asking, but I can't afford to even buy the product. That's why your mind, your imagination, seeing yourself using that product, seeing yourself using it. So think about it. If I want to sell to a prospect, What I'm thinking about is that how can I show this prospect that he is underpaying? Or how can I show that what I'm giving is far greater? How can I amplify my status before these prospects? One of the things you can do, which I'm going to focus on today's video, is using the right vocabulary. The right vocabulary. A lot of people underestimate the importance of speaking with the language of their industry. Some people say things like, if I speak language of my industry, they may not even understand me. Now, realize that the goal of the prospects is not to understand you. The goal of the prospects is to be sure that you are the one that can solve their problems. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you went to see a dentist and all of a sudden, when you say dentist, why do you notice that on the wall, maybe on the wall, he has certificates there? Or when he starts to treat you, he starts to ask certain questions or starts to use certain terms when communicating. Why is he doing that? When you get in the plane and the pilot is taking you on a trip, and all of a sudden the pilot starts to talk about, we're going 1,000 feet, this, and starts to speak all his vocabulary. Why is he doing that? When you engage a lawyer and the lawyer is trying to talk about the situation or the case and they're using their legal terms, why are they doing that? Some of them do it intentionally, some do it unconsciously. But the point is that it's a way of showing you that, hey, Mr. Prospect, I know what I'm doing. Mr. Prospect, I am the expert. Mr. Prospect, it is me you should do business with. Mr. Prospect, what I know, you don't know, therefore you need me. In life, you will always pay for what you don't know. If you knew how to fly a plane yourself, you probably would have been a pilot. If you knew if you had the training and knowledge on how to take care of teeth, you probably would have been a dentist. If you knew everything about the law, you probably would have been a lawyer. So the point is, what I'm just trying to say is that vocabulary establishes you as the person to do business with. Now, I'm not telling you that when you're engaging in prospects, you should go around spitting all the vocabulary and at the end of the day, the prospect is lost. No. I'm saying when you communicate simply and clearly. However, infuse some of those your terms from time to time. And when you bring in those terms, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, these terms we're talking about, these are terms that only people in your industry will know. I'm not telling you to say things like any term in your industry or vocabulary in your industry that you can find easily in any other industry. It's not the vocabulary I'm talking about. There are vocabularies that only in your industry will talk about them. In the oil and gas space, for example, you could talk about brownfields, greenfields. I don't know about any other industry where you talk about brownfields, greenfields. In the medical profession, maybe you could talk about it. Maybe someone says, you're experiencing postprandial hypoglycemia. That's a medical term. But which other industry will be talking about postprandial hypoglycemia? So the whole idea is that you must say something that's unique to you. Now, as you say these things, while you're speaking clearly and in English, drive home your points, when you use these terms, if you notice from the facial expression of the prospects that he probably missed you or he doesn't quite get what you're saying, you can take a step further and explain what those terms mean. Because the very act of explaining to the prospect goes further to establish your credibility. Please note that generally we respect those who teach us. This means if I'm listening to a teacher, because he or she is teaching me, irrespective of their age or status, I would have a part of me that would respect this person. In the olden days, several years ago, when anybody teaches, they call the person teacher. They call the person master, teacher. So people respect those who teach them. So when you use your vocabulary, and someone feels like, this guy knows what he's saying, then you now go further to explain it. It takes a step further again, and you become trusted and the preferred person. Imagine somebody came to sell to you, and the person didn't use any vocabulary, spoke plain English, versus someone who sold to you and used the vocabulary. You may pay differently. If a medical doctor met you and says you're experiencing postprandial hypoglycemia, you will not, because you don't really know and you're not sure, but because that thing has a big name, you most likely will pay more. Versus someone who just says, okay, the issue is that you ate lunch and after eating lunch, you felt heavy, and because you felt heavy, oxygen has gone to the brain and it has made you feel a little drowsy, and because of that, your oxygen has left the brain and gone to stomach walls, digestion, therefore you're feeling drowsy, and because of that, you can't seem to do what you need to do. You'll pay differently for that. So my point is that when you go out to sell today, remember the vocabulary of your industry. Speak like the experts. Maybe not all through, but from time to time, bring in those words, and you find out that you become trusted, and prospects will do business with you faster and in record time. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I look forward to seeing the next video. If you haven't watched the next video, you can watch this. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe here as well. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.